has some interesting real-world data about how that works. And so the first slide that you'll come to is a slide about hoop health. And so, we all kind of remember that 100 is average for hoop health, higher is better, and lower is worse. And this is just an interesting graphic that shows Atlantic, who's 111 for hoop health, has 30% fewer hoof problems than the average, while Paramount, who struggles a little bit on hoop health, actually has 7% more problems than average. So just a nice little graphic that kind of illustrates how Better Life Health works in practice. The other piece that's in here is this little study that we did from some of Tim Fargo's herds in New York that has some really good milking herd data. We looked at the top quarter of those cows for Better Life Health, which averaged about 5%, and the bottom quarter, which were about 0. And you can see the numbers in the bottom. The differences were pretty dramatic. A full 10% more fat and protein. We generally know that health traits are negatively correlated with total milk production, which in turn means that we're generally going to find animals that are higher for fat and protein percentages. But the health problems that go along with this are incredible. The reduction is 88% less first lactation animals culled, 40% less mastitis, 63% less animals culled, 75% less hoof problems. I mean, these are things in today's dairy world where the margins are slimmer than ever that can make a huge, huge difference in the bottom line. And so hopefully some of this data helps you when you're out in the field, and hopefully you find some of this useful as you go out and about and have data that's easy to access. So we have a few slides this time about industry changes. There were quite a few of them, so there's a few slides about them this time. We had some changes we expected, some we didn't, and overall they had a little bit bigger impact than we anticipated they would before the proof run. First one of those is a change in productive life. It's a change that we knew was coming. I don't think anybody in the industry quite understood the scope of the change, how much impact it was going to have at the end of the day. Basically, CDCB changed how they calculate productive life. There were some bulls in the U.S. that had inflated values. It basically has to do with some foreign bulls coming in on a different modeling system, and then those bulls caused U.S. bulls to be inflated. There's a whole scientific explanation behind it, but basically it resulted in the loss of a point or two in productive life for most bulls, a little more severe than that for some, especially in the Jersey breed, it seems like. But with those changes in PL, obviously, comes some changes in net merit and TPI and JPI and those types of things, because productive life is a pretty large percentage of those indexes. One change that we did not expect that we got was a very large fluctuation, negative fluctuation for DPR. DPR dropped between a point and a point and a half for all bulls, daughter-proven and genomic, Holstein and Jersey. I have a chart here and a couple slides that explains how much on average each breed changed. It's been attributed to seasonal variation. We actually reached out to CDCB on Tuesday morning and said, hey, what's the deal with this? This doesn't seem quite right. Basically, they explained it that it was seasonal variation, as in a lot of the breedings that are going in right now are breedings that were performed last summer in the heat. But that's not a very logical explanation. It's more than likely that they've got some other errors in their modeling, to create such a big change. If you're looking for something that's a little more stable in terms of CRB fertility index published on all our bulls that you can look at too, that's got a little more in-depth in terms of modeling and accuracy and the way it's calculated. Another change that we had at the time that didn't seem to have too much of an impact with all the other things that were going on was the addition of the all-breed genomic evaluation. Basically all relatives of animals, regardless of breed composition, were now included in genomics. They've done this on all daughters in 2007, so basically they just shifted that into the genomic bulls. Didn't see any huge changes there that can be specifically attributed to this. But where we did see the major changes in total ranking were because of productive life and DPR changes. Since those are both big components of TPI, JPI, and all the merit indexes, all of those came down. You'll kind of see that specifically if you look at a bull like Barksdale. Barksdale before got a huge portion of his JPI from productive life. He was one of the highest PL jerseys, and because of their changes in modeling, he dropped about 5 points this time. So you'll see a big impact on his JPI. Not really that the bull changed that much. He just got just a reminder, everybody back there, if you haven't muted your phones, if you could do that. We're getting a little bit of background noises here again. So just a quick summary of some of those industry changes we saw for PL and DPR and net merit. The top graph here shows the average change in daughter-proven AI bulls. Basically, Holstein dropped close to a point in PL. Jersey did drop a point. These are all averages, so obviously some bulls had bigger swings than this and some had smaller swings, but these are just what the averages boiled down to. Holstein daughter-proven was a full point drop on DPR. Jersey not quite that. And about a $20 and $25 drop in net merit, respectively. Changes were a little more significant on the genomic side. Holstein's down 1.5 points on productive life on average, and Jersey's down a full 2 points in productive life and almost a full point on DPR. Really significant change on the Jersey side. The average Jersey AI bull dropped 55 net merit dollars. So as you're looking at proofs this week, you'll see a lot fewer 700 net merit jerseys. You'll see a lot fewer Jersey bulls that are over 200 JPI. It's not that, this wasn't a phenomenon that was strictly reserved for our bulls. This happened industry-wide. So it'll take a little time to get used to the new scale of things now that these changes have taken effect. But like I say, it's an effect that everybody had, so we should always make sure we keep that in mind as we go through this proof run. So one of the other things that happened was there were several bulls of significance in both Holstein and Jersey breeds that added daughters, and saw some changes because of that. Two bulls that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with on the Holstein side that have heard me talk about, possibly in a less than favorable way in the past, were Jedi and Modesty, and so actually both of these bulls added a few daughters this time. Jedi added 64 daughters, dropped nearly 100 points on TPI, dropped 100 pounds of milk. This is a bull that was in the mid-2800s and today is within 10 points of hotline. So we'll see if the regression continues as these bulls add more daughters. Modesty also added a handful of daughters, dropped nearly 80 TPI points, over 130 pounds of milk. It kind of brings back to earth all these animals that have Modesty and Jedi in their pedigree a little bit. We look at that in contrast. Hotline only dropped 7 TPI points in an industry where animals were dropping 50 to 100 points on a regular basis this time, and went up actually almost 150 pounds of milk. So as we continue, some of these types of bulls that are common in pedigrees continue to add more daughters. We'll continue to see how that impacts the rest of the industry. So Jersey saw some really major re-ranking. Before this April proof run, there were 233 females over 200 JPI. There's now 48. That's a really significant drop-off. If you look, as you're looking at your Jersey proofs now, we saw a ton of bulls over 200. We're getting a fair number of bulls over 230. In today's world, it's probably safe to assume that 165 to 175 JPI range is the new 200 per se. We had some bulls and pedigrees that added daughters that changed how the industry rankings look a little bit. Lemonhead had a really good day, adding some daughters. Monument did as well, added some daughters, had a nice proof run. And we see that in a bull like Sully, who's has been and still continues to be the #1 Monument son, and actually held steady in all of his values when the rest of the industry really dropped, which elevates him in ranking a little bit. And bulls like Barksdale were definitely affected. A bull that lived on productive life, but that change in modeling, a bull drops 5 points in productive life, it really affects the bottom line in terms of JPI and net merit. The other thing that was added this time were some new CDCB health traits. You'll see a few of these mentioned in our literature this time on the bulls that we have available for. They're only available for Holsteins at this point in time. They're not included yet for net merit or TPI, so they really don't have any effect on any indexes yet. Like many other health traits, they're fairly lowly heritable, and they're using the same U.S. data source that many of the Zoetis wellness traits we've talked about previously do. A system that obviously has some challenges with the cleanliness of data and the accuracy of data. So, we need to take that a little bit for what it's worth. This graph, too, shows the number of records in each of these. Now, we talk a little bit about these CDCB traits because it seems like the U.S. is finally catching on to what CRV has done for 20 years in terms of health traits. Historically, we've been one of the world leaders in gathering this kind of information and publishing health data, and basically the U.S. is finally starting to catch up. So, we see these couple million animals that the U.S. has and a couple million records that the U.S. has. If you look at our udder health database, there's tens of millions of animals that are in there. I mean, it's to the point where there's enough animals in there that they've just stopped bothering to count because the numbers are just that high. So it's really a testament to us, that we were in early on this. We've done it for years, and the U.S. is finally starting to recognize the value of something that we've done forever and ever. There are also some changes that Zoetis introduced this time in some traits, and I think Sophie wants to talk a little bit about them.
Yes, but I want to give everybody the opportunity first to ask questions because we already had quite a lot of information that David shared. So are there any questions on what we've heard so far? Everybody's digesting? Okay. Well, then I will continue. I have 2 slides on the new Zoetis calf traits. I've followed some webinars that Zoetis have put out and some information. There's a lot to find on the internet. But basically, it's the same story on what David already said, is that we're very happy to see that the whole industry is embracing health. But CRV has been doing this for years and years, and we have a very, very comparable health trait. So I've put on the slide a table that shows 3 Zoetis health traits for calves. It's scours, respiratory disease, and livability. And then we have calf survival that you find in all of your directories. Heritabilities are all around that 5-6%. Reliabilities are all around that 40%, and the reliability of the CRV trait is highest just because, like always, we have more accurate data. Now, what is interesting is that Zoetis has added these traits to their clarified test, but what they're saying is actually, by the time that you get test results back from a calf, they've already got their respiratory disease or their scours. So it's not about culling. It's all about mating and selecting. And then they say, okay, so we have made it easy for you. We have put the calf wellness traits as an index, calf wellness index, and the dairy wellness profit index. Now, if a producer really wants to make an impact progress on calf wellness, this is not really the way to go to focus on the dairy wellness profit index because I calculated, can you move the slide, David? That to make a point improvement in calf wellness on these traits, given their heritabilities and their reliabilities, so if you want to go from a 99 to 100, let's say, for an animal, a producer will have to breed 100% all of his emphasis on that wellness profit index for 3 generations full to make that 1 point in progress. So making genetic progress on calf vitality is very hard. If you really want to make progress, you have to fully go on that one trait, which basically none of the producers will do. So what is important with this is if you speak to a customer about this and calf vitality or calf wellness is a problem in that herd, make sure that you ask his breeding goal, give a good emphasis on calf wellness in his breeding goal on calf survival, and look at better life health. So calf survival has a significant amount of weight in better life health. Make sure that the bulls that you select have that value of above 5%, and that's how you make good genetic progress in this trait. So you will see a lot of marketing effort from Zoetis on calf vitality, but just remember that making that genetic progress on these traits is very, very, very slow. And if they find it important, make sure that you speak to that producer about what we can do on health given the traits that we have.
Thank you, Sophie. Just a couple more quick slides on some other changes before we really jump into the bull stuff a little bit. Our Dutch colleagues had some changes in NVI this time, as well as some changes in individual breeding values and how they were calculated. So this slide shows the new makeup of the new NVI formula. So a few changes here. For the first time, hoop health has been added to NVI. That's a new addition. As well as you'll see saved feed costs is part of this. And so saved feed costs is something that we've derived from dry matter intake and average feed costs. And it's very interesting because it actually puts a cost savings to the feed intake that's needed for maintenance on animals. And so we'll be getting out more information about this trait here as the summer goes on, and what the breeding value looks like and how we can use it moving forward. But that's also a new addition to NVI. And you can see here the rest of the components that have previously been in there. There were some shifts in weighting and various things like that, but those were the two new additions. One of the other things that changed was the model for longevity on the Dutch base, and essentially there were just more indicator traits added to longevity. So it affected bulls a little bit. You'll see a bull like Stilando dropped a little bit in his longevity because of the changes in modeling. And some of the changes you see in NVI rank this time can be attributed to changes in longevity for those of you out there that are using the Dutch traits to sell. And the other change that happened this time was the cow reference population was added to the breeding value calculation for the first time. And one of the big effects of this was widening the range of NVI values that we see. So, basically the high bulls became higher, the low bulls became lower, put a little more spread in the NVI values. So we'll talk a little bit about our lineup now, and some new additions, some changes that happened, some overview. So when you look at our Holstein lineup this time, our U.S. Holstein lineup really is hitting our three areas of focus hard in terms of better life health, better life efficiency, and premium milk. And the lineup this time averages 13.5% for better life efficiency, which is a number that I think when we did this a few proof runs ago was 10. So that's a pretty significant economic benefit. Over 5 for better life health. There are no Holstein bulls on the lineup anymore that are negative for either of these two traits. And even within the U.S. lineup, the U.S. active lineup averages 0.10% fat and 0.04% protein. And I think when we look at some of the other studs lineups in coming days, you won't see that 0.07, maybe 0.08. And calving ease continues to improve, but lineup average is 6.5. There's only 2 bulls over 8 this time around on the U.S. Holstein side. So you pretty much have about 95% of the lineup to pick from or more when it comes to the heifer pens. So that's a nice benefit to have as well. On the Dutch Holstein side, we hear the demand for those high component bulls in today's milk market, and we certainly are hearing that. The Dutch Holstein group this time averages 0.25% fat, 0.10% protein, high efficiency, really high health. There are 4 bulls on the Dutch lineup this time over 0.50% fat, and 2 that are over 0.70% fat. So if you've got dairies out there that are looking to make some intense changes in their program, and make better milk rather than more milk, and make a high dollar product, we certainly have the options to do that. Some new bulls on the Holstein side. Sky is one of the new additions this time. Just shy of Hotline, over 2,700 TPI. Number 2 TPI bull in our lineup, 150 CFP and high percents. He's a son of a bull named Montana. Used some as a Sire sons, but not excessively. There won't be a ton of those sons out there, so it makes this bull just a little bit different in that regard. A bull that so far has produced semen well. We always hope that they continue to do so, but a bull that's been a good producer to this point at least. Champion is another new bull. He's our fat king, 112 pounds of fat, 0.24% test on the U.S. base. Interesting fun fact about this bull, when you look at him in the Dutch base, he's actually plus 0.38% fat and over 100 kilograms of just pounds of fat. So a bull that no matter what base he's on is a tremendous producer of fat. Number 2 CFP bull in our lineup, this time the Audible. He's a superhero son out of a silver. And the other nice thing that this bull does, if you've got some guys that are still looking to improve conformation, he is over 2 points for type, over 2 points for evercomp, along with all of that fat and protein production. So a really nice complete bull in that regard. The other 2 new Holsteins this time are Justify. Justify is our Better Life Health King, and Better Life Efficiency King for that matter. 17 for efficiency and 8 for health. A little bit different in the pedigree department. He's a franchise from a Joe Super from a Galaxy, and he's 5'9" calving ease. So between the pedigree and the calving ease, if you've got a heifer ranch out there, this is the kind of bull you can go right down the line, use them all day long, and not really have many worries about it. Last new bull is kind of a different bull. He's kind of fun and interesting. Shiro is great for his health traits. 9% for that should say BLH. I have BLE written there, but that should be BLH. Great for udder health, great for hoof health, great for ketosis. A bull that, if you've got breeders out there that like to play around in the market in Europe and sell some embryos overseas, this bull's super high on the Dutch base. He's a mating sire level bull in Germany. He's very high RZG. He does some interesting things that way. A bull that's actually a maternal brother to a bull by the name of Chuck that we've sold a little bit of in the U.S., but we've sold a ton of in Europe. So another member of that same cow family, but a bull that really brings some interesting things to the table. He's a superhero out of a ransom, so a little bit different pedigree department there too. New red bull. Some of you, or most of you actually, are probably aware of this bull. Banana's a red bull that rocks it on all bases pretty much. Good calving ease, 6.1, which you never find in red Holstein. Apple free for the U.S. market. Extreme high MVI, I believe 385 on the red and white base this time around. Number 4 RZG bull for red bulls in Germany. Number 14 bull in the UK, regardless of color. Black and white and red and white. And as far as I can tell this afternoon of the active bulls, number 3 red and white bull in the U.S. for TPI. This is, if you've got one of those guys in your area that has some red and whites, if they're into the embryo business, this bull's a good way for them to continue that. No doubt that he will be a pretty heavily used sire of sons in Germany. If you've got guys that have some German connections, want to send some embryos overseas, this bull will do it. Some watch-out bulls, some bulls that had good days that we should make sure that we pay attention to. Strategy, we've always talked about, is a great bull for BLH. His sire, Alpha Stratify, added milking daughters this time, jumped way up in milk. This bull jumped back over 1,000 in milk without losing any of his health traits. Still big percentages, high fat, high protein percents. A bull that if you need an outcross bull that really excels on some of the health traits, a bull that can check those boxes. We talked a little bit about Hotline already. He increased his milk, his fat, his protein. He actually increased a little bit his type. You know, in today's world where all those TPI numbers have regressed across the industry a little bit, he's a bull that's moving right back into that category as a potential mating sire again. And he actually dropped his calving yeast again. He's now 5'9" for calving yeast. So, you know, this bull can be a rock star for the heifers as well. A few more bulls had nice days. You know, we saw the graph earlier where genomic Holsteins dropped about 40 net merit dollars across the industry. Novel jumped $26 net merit. You guys have all heard me talk about this bull before. I've got on my soapbox about this bull before. I love this bull. I still love this bull. And he keeps getting better as time goes on. Great for efficiency, great for health, and I think he even dropped his calving yeast a little bit again this time as well. But you know, a bull that we should probably keep an eye on a little bit as we're out there selling. Forward, another bull that I know has been popular, but got even better this time. He had some pedigree help there, but with Alta Spring adding some daughters. But he jumped 11 pounds of CFP. Still right around 0 for stature. A rock star for efficiency. Great for CFP, great for percents. And a new release bull from last proof run, Nash, still over 900 cheese merit at 915, and with some of the industry regression, that puts him up right towards the top of the Holstein world as far as cheese merit goes. So if you've got some guys that are sending milk to a cheese plant, Nash is one to look at. So that's you know, that's kind of the highlights on the Holstein side. We'll take another quick little break. If you've got any questions on anything, feel free to ask, and yeah, go for it if you've got any questions so far. Well, if there aren't any questions out there, we'll move on to little brown cows. We'll let Joe talk a little bit about what Jersey things happened this time.
As David mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit of shakeup in Jerseys as far as the numbers. It actually kind of equalized the playing field amongst a lot of the different cow families. Some of the predominant cow families that were extreme productive life with strong DPRs are softened a fair amount, and some other ones held their numbers strong while everything around them dropped. So certainly get some new rankings out there, and it's going to, as he mentioned earlier, 165 to 170-ish is kind of where what was 200 before. So there's going to be a lot of bulls. Might take a little bit for the dairymen to adjust to the level of bulls they're looking at, but it actually is a positive on our end that it'll give us more bulls to that fit into that top end when you start breaking it all down. All our new bulls coming in are all A2, and BB, and actually the next 4 or 5 to come in after this are all A2, BB. So that's taken care of. On the listing now, Mystique is our top bull. He had a really good day relative to the industry. We're getting pretty excited. We're not too far away from seeing his first calves hit the ground, and we used him and Tom Brady in pre-release as a mating sire early. Just a few weeks away, or maybe they're just hitting the ground now, and mesquites are looking to really be timed right for the suns to come across. Here. Next slide. So we've got new bulls out. We released the Discovery. He's an excellent health trait bull. He's a Avon out of a Chisel, out of a Dazzler. The Chisel was a bull that Select Sires had used as a sire of sons and had big plans for him, and he just quit making semen. It was a pretty good bull in his day, but he never made commercial semen. He only was used as a sire of sons, and so he doesn't show up in a lot of pedigrees. There's a bull. The dam of Discovery is actually a full sister to a bull by the name of Disco that is fairly popular in the breed. One of Select Sire's top bulls that they've sold in the last year. So this cow family is just starting to get tapped into. Discovery having the high health traits of +1, 3 DPR, over 5 PL, 28 on udders. Great bull to come back on the high CFP bloodlines that need a shot in the or help in the udders and the health traits, such as bulls like Detroit, Harris, and the gratitude bloodlines. So it's a great complement for a lot of the commercial heifers running around out there. The second bull is a bull by name of Fastidious. This bull is a full herd book bull, HR status. Real interesting pedigree, being a next level lexicon zipper. Guarantee he's probably the only one of that sire stack in the whole world. It's very unique, I guess, and then he's HR status, which makes him one of the highest full herd book animals in the industry. At 164 JPI and 106 CFP and just balanced all the way across. This bull's one that once people find, I expect they'll use him pretty heavy, but he's not something that's going to jump right out at them. You're going to have to kind of show it to him. We got a really nice picture of the dam. She's got a really nice lexicon udder underneath her. And
so I actually, sorry Joe, I'm going to jump in for just a second. I actually saw that cow a few months ago when I was at Pine Tree in her working clothes. As good as that picture is, it doesn't necessarily do her justice. That's one whale of a Jersey cow.
And I had the opportunity to see the Grand Dam one time, and had one of the best frames and tremendous dairy rib on her. And lexicon certainly helped in the udder department. She was not quite as fancy as the dam, but you throw next level on that, it's another level of udders, and you got a 14.3 JUI on this cow family, and HR status and balance all the way across. I think he'll be a good bull to move out pretty fast. The third new bull we're going to release is Wingman. He's a Eusebio out of a Chisel, out of a Dazzler. So he's actually I guess you call it three-quarter brother to Discovery. Wingman and Discovery's dams are full sisters. Eusebio is a lot more CFP than through there, so you get 105 CFP and you got 20.3 on udders on Wingman. What's great about these guys is we already have sorted semen on Discovery and Wingman. We're a little light on conventional units on Discovery and Fastidious, but two of the three got sorted semen and good inventory that you can hit the ground running. David's watch out list, as he calls it, that's the new term for me. But the bulls that came back look really great. Sully. Now Sully's been struggling keeping up with production for demand. He's had really high demand in the last 4 months, and I expect that to only go higher. He held his numbers when everybody around him dropped. His sire is Monument, who started adding daughters and took a pretty nice jump, healthy jump. Sully ends up being the #1 Monument son in the breed. He's at 155 GJPI, and balanced all the way across. He's a 6 on the generation count, so if you bred him he'll make full HR offspring, being a 6, which has play in some markets. The other bull, as we started out earlier, Mesquite. Easily back in the, people are going to be going back and using them as a sire of sons at this point if they missed them 9 months ago when we were using them, so they're going to be, hopefully we have some luck here with getting sons here. He's at 185 JPI and a very complete bull. Ignatius has also had a really good day. He held well, balanced bull, health, JUI. He's kind of got it all. He's a different pedigree, being a Saint son, and a Saint out of a Harris, out of a Target. Shallow udders at 2.2 and right break-even DPR. Really nice, interesting bull, and we were good on both conventional and sorted semen on him.
Anybody have any questions on the Jersey lineup at this point? no questions there. We'll move on. We'll talk just briefly about the Dutch Holstein lineup. Not a ton of change as far as bulls go, but we did have a ton of change as far as the bulls that we are already marketing go, and all of it was pretty much positive, which is nice. So it's my turn to call all of you out for a bull that I think you should have sold before that's got even better now. Empire was a very nice balanced bull before, and he's moved kind of from a nice balanced bull in the Dutch base in the Rockstar category. 0.53 fat percent, 0.27 protein, over 400 NBI, 18 BLE, 10 BLH. I mean, there's not a place in this country that you can go wrong using this bull across the board. He's made the top two. He's got the top two baby bull calves in Holland right now in terms of CRV index, and I think 4 of the top 8, if I remember correctly. Heavy Sire sons. We've got inventory on this bull. He checked every single box. He loves the new longevity formula on the Dutch base, along with all that production. This is a bull that I think we can really make some impact on. And we talked a little bit before, too. We've got 4 Dutch bulls above 0.5% for fat now. 2 of those over 0.7. Smiley, Wilder Smiley, is up to 0.72% fat. And he's red factor. So if you've got somebody that's playing around with red, wants to improve components, Smiley will do that. Mercy is at 0.66% fat now. We've got Empire at 0.53. And then you've still got Mobile. If you're looking for a really fertile bull, Mobile's still in there, 0.76% fat. So just a crazy fat percent on those couple bulls, but they certainly the lineup certainly looks the part to improve performance right now.
David, quickly before we get into questions, I just want to give an update on inventories. We're setting really good on a lot of bulls right now. Sky is excellent inventory for us. The new bulls are very sound. We should be able to hit the ground running with them on all new bulls. We basically got inventory on every bull except for Don at the moment. Don inventory, the Dutch bull, will be in by the end of April, so we're just 2-3 weeks away, and we'll have Don semen again. Any New Zealand tank is en route at the moment, so we should have the New Zealand product that we've been missing ready to go in 2 weeks, if everything goes right, which means we're setting good on all fronts on the inventory, and setting really good on a lot of variety and sorted bulls too. Any questions?
A lot of information, guys. I'm pretty sure there's some questions. Okay, well, just for your information, I have loaded the dairy guide, Jersey directory, and the red meat directory in Dropbox for you to print, and the Holstein directory you can expect in the next 45 minutes.
Hey, David, question for you.
Yeah.
What's up with testing? We don't hear anything about it now.
We have a very difficult time to hear you. Can you repeat?
What was that? Sorry.
What's up with DraftKings? We haven't heard anything about him.
Oh, so just I'll give you an update on DraftKings. So ranking-wise, DraftKings held up. We've had some challenges with that bull. He had a positive IVR test, so he had to get moved to a different facility. He is back on production. However, what I have heard within the last week now is that he has been being treated for pneumonia. So we're having some technical difficulties, I guess you would say, at the moment. Hopefully that stuff starts to clear itself up here in very short order. But we've had some challenges on DraftKings.
Any other questions out there? If not, we thank you for joining us today for the April 2018 Sire Summary Update. If you got any questions, you can get a hold of us in the office. Thank you.